Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Caching with Cadgerman. I'm at the restored Como Depot here in Como, Colorado, which is along the old Denver South Park and Pacific Railroad line. There's been a lot of restoration in this area. Some interesting freight cars, restored buildings on this old railroad grade. Como was a junction point between where the railroad split. It came from Denver to Como, and from here it went to Breckenridge, which is where we're heading today, and it also went the other direction towards Buena Vista. I plan to find a few caches along the way. It's a very historic route. The whole route up Boreas Pass is the old railroad grade. So come along for the adventure today, and we'll see how many caches we can find along this old historic route. This railroad line here was narrow gauge, only 3 feet between the rails. So this is the old station right here, and next to it is the old hotel that's also been undergoing some restoration. Off in the other direction, not only do we have this neat old boxcar that's also been restored, but in the distance is the old roundhouse. And I even see some people working down there today. So here in Como, they've actually been laying some narrow gauge track, and here's some rails which they're going to use to extend it. And there happens to be a geocache right here. One of these little silver bullet guys. I'm getting close. Found it. Right by a nice aspen tree. Who knows what kind of tree this stump was. So the road detours away from the railroad grade at this location, Rocky Point. But there's a nice trail that leads to something interesting down here. People who are railroad enthusiasts are very interested in these old railroads. This is a narrow gauge. This is a section of track that was relayed for historical purposes along this part where they didn't put the road through. The road detours up and over this little ridge here. But just imagine back in the 1920s or so, even into the 30s, coming along a little narrow gauge train and seeing this view. If I'm not mistaken, I believe these trees are bristlecones. The branches, the little limbs like this, look like bristle brushes. If they are, they're relatively young. Bristlecone trees can live to be thousands of years old. So a little detour brought us to this interesting little stretch of railroad track and some bristlecone trees. And of course the fabulous view. There's more caches to be found down the road, so let's continue on. Looks like the GPS is pointing right at this tree behind me. I suspect that's where the cache is. Let's take a look. should be right there. But it's actually laying on the ground back over there. I wonder how it got moved. Perfectly good shape. Not use a pair of gloves. A little hook. And a baggie with a logbook. And there's a nifty little path tag in it. Looks like it was last found last October. Here it is July. Well, trees have to start somewhere. Starting small. Start with one of these, turn into one of those. Someday it grows up to be one of those. Oh, there's some cool restored buildings up here at Boreas Pass. And there's supposed to be a geocache behind this building. Well, I had no luck finding the geocache behind the section house here, but I'm not too concerned because I found this one before. Here's another cool restored railroad artifact. They built a shelter for this old steam engine here, help protect it from the elements. It actually seems to be in pretty good shape. Number 9 here was one of the last locomotives operated on the old Colorado and Southern. This locomotive is on display in Breckenridge, Colorado. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Caching with Cadgerman. I didn't find the cache here, but I did find this cool rotary snowplow, which is used for clearing railroad tracks of snow, obviously, in the mountains or wherever the snow might be. This one's a narrow gauge one, it's just on display here. It hasn't been used for who knows how long. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you somewhere else. Maybe up a mountain somewhere. Take care, everybody. So long.